Hi, everybody. Wanted to give you a little bit more information on exercise 4, which actually asks you for three fairly straightforward things, but might feel a little bit more complicated because I'm asking you to switch gears in terms of moving from print plots to really good writing to branched plots. So in this, there's the deliverable is three things. The first deliverable is just a diagram with a plot structure. That may look a lot like what you see on the left in this sort of ascending or reverse check mark, something that looks like Freytag's triangle. If you want, you don't have to make it look like a pyramid or a check mark. It can just be a line of boxes, and each one of these boxes represents a basically a line of plot. We'll get to that in a second. The second part of the deliverable is one sentence. So you'll have one sentence for each of these boxes. We'll get to that in a bit. And then you're just going to write down some ideas for me. If you make me a new diagram, that's great, but all you have to do is brainstorm a little bit. And the idea here is that we're becoming even more and more aware of what a traditional print-based plot looks like, and then continuing to think through our own ideas in terms of how we can best kind of break that, understanding that it's one of our assumptions, but how we can break that and rethink entirely so that we're not starting with a Freytag plot in the future. All right, remember that you can always use your previous ideas or build on something that came up in a free writing as long as it was done for this semester. All right, part one. Create a Freytag-like plot structure. This assumes that you read the readings for the week on craft and you looked at the Freytag documents on Kung Fu Panda and Cinderella to understand better that a Freytag pyramid is a way to describe the plot of traditionally a five-act play, but more specifically stories and novels in general. And you can remember this either from high school or just from thinking about all the things you've seen and read in your life where something starts with a basic inciting incident, something that changes, and then essentially as more information and characters and stuff is increased, we have increasing tension that moves us all the way through to a main climax. Now, be aware that there can be little climaxes all the way through, and should be, or else it's real boring up to this point, but that we get to a main climax. And then after that, we have a small sort of downturn, which is our denouement, where we kind of wrap things up. We don't wrap it up emotionally necessarily, but sometimes we have to show the characters going home, something simple like that. Remember too that in a traditional plot, they're usually based on the fact that somebody wants something. So this rising action is they're wanting it, they're wanting it, they're wanting it, they're wanting it, and there are obstacles on the way that are preventing them from getting it. But all along the way, they're either changing or adopting or trying new things, and that's where this increased tension comes. As the story goes on, the stakes get higher, and that's what brings us to a main climax. So in part one, what I'm asking you to do is create the plot for a traditional story based probably on one of your ideas. And all you're doing here for me in terms of me is writing one sentence. And this, the writing is less important. It should be very short and very short, straightforward, that tells me what happens in this scene. At the restaurant, John tells his mom that he doesn't want to spend weekends with her anymore. And then the next scene is, mom at home, uh, building a new fence in which something happens that pushes forwards the plot. She's building a new fence and she's thinking about ways that she can have her son be more invested in her life. And then the scene after that is her going to the sporting goods store to buy some things so that he will want to spend more time with her. And then there's an obstacle. Maybe she gets a flat tire or her son has a different interest. But you're basically creating scenes, and they have to be scenes. They have to be embedded in place where something happens that moves things forwards. Now, if you look at this and you say, well, this doesn't really move it forwards, then it shouldn't be in the story probably. Sometimes thoughts can move things forward, sometimes action, sometimes dialogue. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be everything you do, but the more you can sketch out, the better. Occasionally, more than one thing happens in the same scene, but that may or may not be best for your story. Anyways, that's part one. It should look like this, and each one of these squares should be accompanied by just this line of text. If you want to even write it in, that's okay. Just make sure I can read it somehow, or you don't even need the boxes. You could do this in a Word document and just, give me bullet points. Either way. All right, that's the second part, or the first part, sorry. Last note on the first part, it doesn't have to be linear here. If you have flashbacks or memories, this is the order in which the story is told, not the time order in which events happen. So please feel free to have some of these boxes be flashbacks where something is learned, or maybe there's a second story in here. We talked about parallel stories. All right, second part is now a little bit different. What I want you to do is write one descriptive, perfect sentence for each lexia or scene. So you're going to have one sentence for each box or each line that you have. Now, the key thing here is that I'm asking you to make this little left turn, is that these sentences they're not about plot at all, really. And this is going to be up to your own creativity. There's some small thing probably that happens in this scene or is described in this scene. So if I take this first passage, which is, son tells mom he doesn't want to spend weekends with her anymore. I might write a sentence about, they may be at a playground. I think we talked about playgrounds last week, in which the son is noticing, a freckled child eating ice cream while swinging. This is my striking image. And that maybe this, makes him remember a good time that he had with his mom. In any case, it's that one sentence. It doesn't drive the plot forwards. It's not about him telling her, but it's something that would be in this scene as you wrote it. But I want this to be a perfect, descriptive, imagistic, concrete sentence. Could have dialogue in it, could be with action. It doesn't have to be just a description. Try to make it embedded in a character's perception, as we've been talking about. So again, one sentence per box. So here I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sentences. Not so hard, but I want you to spend time on them. Lastly, I want you to think about how this Freytag structure could for you become a branching structure, some kind of hypertext structure, and write me just a small paragraph about some different ways that you might open that up. For example, we're going to head over here and look at this. Here is my Freytag structure, and I might notice that right here a third character comes in, and I might say, well, Robert, I might want to make a whole bunch of passages all of a sudden that are from their point of view. I'm switching point of view so that off of this passage 2, I'm not making links here, I have these branches. Or you might want to say that, hey, I start over, this is actually where I want people to be able to start at different places. So maybe they can choose whether they start here or here or here. And then things branch in time directions. Remember, imagine a world where you have 12 scenes and people have 3 choices as to the order in which they read these scenes, something like that. So I just want you to give me a couple ideas based on your specific content, what you might do. All right, one caveat, no time travel. In fact, no time travel for the whole class. We're just going to say that, no time travel. But if you want pandas, pandas are okay. All right, that is exercise 4. If you have any other questions, let me know.